hard to believe we've already come to the end of season 2 of the Screaming Idiots show. What a damn ride it's been, boys. Hard to believe we've done, 12 full episodes now in the span of, two and a half months?
We've been doing it that long?
Yeah, man.
Whoo!
Yeah. It's, like I said, hard to believe. It's been really fun. It's been really eye-opening and rewarding and challenging. But I think that I know I've had a lot of fun doing it, even though it's been time crunching and shit like that, and we have to put a lot of thought and effort and whatnot into doing this. But I've had a blast doing it, so I appreciate each and every one of our listeners out there, growing by the day. It's awesome to see all the new states and countries. Oh, we're in Bosnia now.
Where the hell's
Bosnia?
It's in Europe. Thank you. I don't know. You know who you are.
Yeah, I
Bosnia.
believe is like
It's like
southeastern.
Romania area.
It's above Greece, I believe.
Okay. Well, Mr. Nautical
that? Sounds
man
metal
over here
as
would
fuck.
know. It does sound metal as fuck. But
I could
Any
be way wrong.
Bosnian metal bands out there that
I'm
we
sure
know
there's
of?
plenty of Bosnian metal bands out there. Seems like there'd be a lot of them. I'll have to do some research.
Yeah,
It might be that area of Europe that's all about the EDM.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not all about EDM.
Neither am I.
Yeah. But if
Well, we lost Bosnia.
we lost Boston.
Shit.
At least we still got Spain and Germany and England and Ireland. That's another new one too.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, Ireland. That's another new one.
Sweet.
Canada. Finally made it to Canada. I don't know. Canadians.
Why was that so hard?
I don't know, man. They must still just love fucking Rush, bro.
Hey, Alex is on fire is from Canada and they're amazing.
There's another Canadian. Oh, you know that you ever heard that fucking song, "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald"? That fucking folk song.
Fuck no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like a fucking cult following song. It's a song about a big fucking freighter ship that got sunk in one of the Great Lakes, and some dude wrote a song about it in like the fucking 70s, and everybody thinks it's the greatest thing ever. And he died today, and he's from Canada, so R.I.P. that fella. I don't know his name.
Damn.
That fella.
Damn, that feller. Am I the only one that, like, when I was like 10, that I thought Canadians actually looked like how South Park portrayed them?
Yes. 100%.
Hey, buddy. You're starting to find out that somebody you thought your buddy is actually your friend. Oh, I really thought that, I might be the only one. But yeah, I'm like, man, when I saw my first Canadian, I'm like, why is his face not cut in half? Like, why is his head not move like this when he talks? Okay, we've gone off the rails long enough. But thank you guys so much for making this so much fun to do and continuing to support us. And hope you love the content we've been putting out. Thank you to our Patreon subscribers. Thank you to our YouTube subscribers. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. So we got a jam-packed season finale for you guys, and we're gonna do a little bit of everything. We've got a pretty stacked show sheet, and I wanted to kick it off with some music business and band business, and ask the two of you, in regards to the band, what has been the hardest or the most frustrating thing about being in a local band, as far as getting started or getting better, whatever it might be. Just each of you, kind of what in your opinion has been that most frustrating piece, and in turn, how can other local up and coming bands learn from that and kind of overcome those challenges as well? Whichever one. Preston, you want to go first?
Man, I'm trying to think the hardest piece.
Or most frustrating to you personally?
There's a few, I would say, and as simple as it sounds, being able to get together on a pretty strict schedule.
Steady. Something
On
steady.
a steady schedule. And it's okay when it's not steady, but I prefer structure in my day-to-day. It's just because life can get in the way. It's hard for you to get together at noon every Sunday or 5 p.m. every Sunday, which we've been better at as of late. But then it's like, you might have a 2-hour practice, and of course you don't want to have too structured of a practice because you want it to be fun and you want to jam. Like
Right.
That's
what
what
you're
you do
doing.
it for.
Yeah.
But sometimes we'll go into practice and we'll have like not an itinerary built out for practice, but like one thing that we might think is going to take 30 minutes takes an hour and a half, and then we play 3 songs to end the practice, and it's like, holy shit, practice is over. What progress did we really make?
Sure.
So I would say having a truly structured practice schedule and getting something out of every single practice, especially if you're only able to get together once a week. And then the other piece I would say, booking consistent good shows as a local band. That is hard. For me.
Gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah. Yep.
And like work towards at practice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and then the other part, just booking consistent good shows, because we'll get offered this or we'll get offered that, and we obviously want to make it worth our time, but also if we have people traveling with us to a show, we want to make sure we make it worth their time as well. Not every show can be at the Newport or wherever. So trying to manage that and make it worth everybody's time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that falls into, both the scheduling piece for practice and scheduling shows comes back to, we've said it so many times, the 99%, right? You're not doing it for a living. You are scheduling band activities around life activities.
Yeah.
And, everybody in Screaming Evidence has kids, and those kids have life events and things going on, and everybody's got jobs. So trying to, I can only imagine how difficult and I know just from what you guys tell me and about how difficult it is to get everybody together at the same time and try to make it, like you said, hey, 5 p.m. every Sunday or whatever it might be, getting all members of the band to agree to that and make their schedules fit. That's tough. I think
you've been able to experience it to an extent with this podcast though.
Yeah.
I've compared creating this podcast to being in a band several times. I mean, it's just content creation, and when you're working with other people, you gotta, like, sometimes it's a bitch.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
When the other piece, from our band standpoint, like, we're not one of those bands that can play shows during the week. Like, there's venues down in Cincinnati or up in Columbus that they have shows on a Thursday or shows maybe on a Tuesday. I don't know. But
I normally see like a Sunday evening, Thursday evening.
Is another big one.
You'll see occasional ones in between, but it's very rare.
Yeah. And just due to conflicting work schedules and life schedules, like, we're usually 90% of the time only able to play gigs on the weekends. So, which probably limits us a bit to certain venues and certain bills that we would like to get on. And hopefully that changes down the road at some point. But that, it allows it to be limited on our end as well.
And you've mentioned it before, you're trying to balance scheduling good quality live shows with creating new music.
Yeah.
So that, that kind of, they all tie together, right? It's all a double-edged sword, and trying to balance your time between writing and producing new music to play live and actually going out and playing live. So, I feel like, and again, not like I have any experience in it, but I feel like being a local band has so many more challenges than being a big band. Because when you're a big band, you've got managers and tour managers and PR guys and all. You're doing it for a living.
Yeah.
You've got people that are setting shit up for you. You don't, you don't have a day job to go to when you're fucking Monuments or whoever it is. You're doing that for work, so you don't have to worry about all those scheduling. I'm not saying those guys don't have anything to worry about, but I feel like when you're at this level, when you're in that 99%, there's just a whole lot more that goes into that scheduling piece.
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird boat that we find ourselves in, because we obviously, the main reason we do it is for fun. It's what we love to do, but there's also that drive and that passion of, we really want this to turn into something at some point, but like, there's an amount of effort that we kind of can't put in, that kind of needs to be put in. on our end for it to really do something.
Well, and I think it just goes into the time that you expect it to take to get to that level,
Yeah.
right? I think Tyler, I think you've mentioned that before, right? There's a scale. It's
Yeah.
You ever seen that meme of the more you fuck around, the more you find out?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, right? The more time that you're able to put in, the quicker you're going to get to your destination. The
Yep.
faster you drive, the quicker you're going to get there. But you're only allowed to drive so damn fast because you got other shit going on.
Yeah.
So there's an
Got
equation
kids
there.
in the back seat, so I gotta go to the speed limit.
That's
I'm not
fair.
a fan.
That's fair. I get it. No, those are great points, and I think that probably just about every band that is in the position you guys are in
Mm-hmm.
is facing those same challenges. So, I think that's good advice.
Yeah, and it's
to
like
them.
I follow some of these local bands, and they're out playing every single weekend or even during the week, and I don't want to say that they don't have a life or anything like that by any means, but it's like, how the hell are these guys
Bro, I'm
doing
telling
that?
you, kids is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I
Like
just don't understand.
You don't have kids,
You can kind of do,
you
yeah,
do a lot more
yeah,
than, you know.
yeah.
When you got little ones at home, and I mean, I can speak to it too, you know, because I got one at home. It makes things a lot more challenging with time because you're trying to make sure you're following your fatherly duties.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You want to make sure you're being a good husband. You're
Yeah.
being a good dad.
exactly.
Tyler, what would you say would be most frustrating or toughest thing to deal with?
I'm really interested to hear what you have to say because just
I'm sure there's a piece
You've-
of it that I forgot.
well, he's just
didn't
been doing
mention.
it longer.
Yeah,
so I'm just,
and
I
that
mean,
as well.
I'll do two things only because you guys brought up a really good point with the
Sometimes
time
we
it
do that.
takes to get where you're wanting to go. But I think the two tie in together. So I might sound like an idiot trying to,
We are the screaming idiots.
yeah, say this
Ta-da.
phrase, but delusions of grandeur is
Grandeur.
grandeur. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay,
delusions of
Fucking
grandeur.
idiot.
grandeur. Hey,
I
from the
wouldn't have been-
sticks.
I wouldn't have been able to say it.
He said I'm not good with names.
I know
Or words.
the term. I know what it means, but
That's fair.
to be able to speak it, I'm illiterate. But balancing these delusions of grandeur
Good job.
and healthy skepticism.
Now, healthy skepticism, is that a synonym for constructive criticism?
Mm-mm.
Okay, what the fuck are you talking about? Enlighten me.
Huh?
Huh?
So in business in general, you have to have a certain level of skepticism, and it's kind of this healthy level of skepticism of not just jumping into every opportunity that you can, and also being able to take objective looks at what you're doing and, can I actually deliver on this deadline or whatever it is, right? So a little bit of skepticism really helps a business, right? And a band is without a doubt just a type of business. And I've had trouble throughout my time being a musician and being in this band and trying to do something with music in my life. There are times where I'll get really down in the dumps and be really skeptic that this thing is even going to work.
Mm-hmm.
This thing's even going to do something. Does anybody even like our music? All these ideals there. And then on the other end, I've at times drove myself absolutely nuts trying to force something to happen with these delusional thoughts that, and I say delusional, I really mean there's been times I've been borderline delusional with my thoughts of what Screaming Evidence is and what it's going to be, more so when I was younger.
Sure.
You know what I
think
Which
it's
mean?
would be
natural.
natural, I would
It,
assume.
You wanna be a
it would
fucking
be
rock star.
natural.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
want to be a rock star. Exactly.
But even still, it's like, as a musician and having that dream of being a rock star or whatever, in essence, is kind of fucking delusional.
Mm-hmm.
If we kind of agree on the number that somewhere around, 1 to 10% of musicians actually make something of it, whew,
It's a big gap.
that's a big gap.
Yeah.
We am I in that top 10% or that top 1%?
Yeah.
I don't know. And it seems like an odd concept, but you got to find the balance between the two. Like you have to, you still have to have that dream. You still have to have those aspirations and that drive and that hope, but you can't allow it to get to a point of delusion.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're setting yourself up for
Because
disappointment.
then you'll set yourself up for disappointment. You'll drive yourself absolutely mad.
Yep.
Sometimes egos can get created. That'll cause you a world of fucking problems in the local music scene.
We've seen it.
We've seen it.
Yep.
I once upon a time had kind of an ego back in high school just because I thought I was the coolest fucking kid in the world playing music while in high school. And I wasn't. But on the other hand, it's like you do have to be a little bit skeptic. But don't be so skeptic that you just pass on so many opportunities to go out and play or to go out and meet someone or go out and watch a local band play and maybe find that you actually like them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get so down on yourself if, the business side of things isn't going as well as you want it to. Find the balance between those two because you need them both, but too heavy on either side is going to fuck you up.
So I think the moral of that story is setting realistic expectations,
Yep.
right?
There's a level of realism involved.
Yeah, you're
Yep.
trying to, like you said, find that perfect balance of what I think we can be and what we're really gonna be, or what we have the capability and ability to be at this point in time.
Yeah, there's a part of me like, and I'm sure you feel this way, and Scotty and Sean feel this way. Like, there's moments in this garage when we're creating music together, and I'm like, I swear to God, this could be something one day. I swear to God, this could be something one day. But then there's always that another part of it that it's like, well, we practice once a week, we play a show once every 2 months. Like, I don't know how we're going to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the music, and that's the issue I've had with Screaming Evidence is just I've always felt that the music potential is there, but we've always lacked so much on the business side just because we've all always had something in our personal lives holding us back, or at least holding one member back. And I promise you all, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, if you got people being held back, there's some bands that are like, fuck that dude, we're going to cut him. He can't be there and do the things we need him to do.
Mm-hmm.
We've never been like that.
They didn't cut your ass when you were in the Navy.
I fucking wish they did. Goddamn. I couldn't get out of that bitch quick enough.
No. I meant the band didn't cut your ass when you were in the Navy.
Well, we technically weren't together. We had split up sort of before I went to the Navy.
You guys were just talking.
Yeah. We were on a break.
You guys were just
We
talking.
kind of fucked other people.
We,
Jesus Christ.
oh God.
Scotty did. I mean, he went and got another band. Sean really didn't do much with other people. He's kind of a hermit.
He just Skyped you and
Yeah, he just Skyped me, and
you guys had phone sex.
We had phone sex. No, we had Skype sex.
Skype sex.
Christ almighty.
It was way glitchier than regular phone sex.
Yeah. But you could see titties.
Yeah.
No, I do think you make a really good point there, because it's a thing that we have to accept, and it's kind of, you come to a tough realization, like, we're getting in our late 20s, like, it's time to go, or it's time to just keep
Kind of
playing
time to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, I mean, it's most
Scotty
like,
really feels it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure Scotty feels it more than anybody.
He's yelled at us a couple of
he's voiced
times.
it, yeah. And it's good that those are healthy conversations.
They
like
are. Yeah,
when he
you gotta-
fires you up, like, man, I've been doing this however long. Like, I'm sick of just playing this or playing that. Like, those are healthy conversations to have because it lets you know that that drive and that passion is still there to do something with it, and it's what we would all
it's
want to do.
no
at the end
different
of the
than
day.
anything else in life where
Yep.
you're going to have personal highs and lows with morale
Yep.
and how, just kind of how you're feeling about the band or the situation that you're currently in. And you have to kind of give yourself a reality check every now and then, right? And kind of come back down to earth and recenter and refocus and move on from that, low or super high that you're feeling. Again, taper your expectations. And have a common goal. I can't necessarily speak from the band standpoint, but as a podcast, we set common goals really early on in this project, and I think a local band should be no different. Have a common goal in mind, whatever that might be, and however far away that goal might be. You all got to be on the same page, because if you're not, then you're all just going to be bitching at each other 24/7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're trying to work, you can't be having a tug of war and working towards two different goals at the opposite end of the spectrum. So staying aligned with each other and valuing each other's opinions, I think, goes a long way too.
Yeah, and there's a part of me that is like, if I'm 50 years old down the road, I would be so pissed at myself to say I never tried, like to know that I never tried to really do something with music. So, I mean, whatever happens. I don't want to be super carefree about it. But at the same time, I want to make sure throughout all this, whatever is to come, I'm having fun and doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yep. And then kind of the other side of what I was going to say is just as far as like the time it's going to take to get there.
Yeah.
Like, at one point, I drove myself into a near mental fucking breakdown with Screaming Evidence. And this was before you came around.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing bits and pieces of this.
Yeah, so it was, I was finishing up college. I was going to college for music business. I'm getting all this wealth of information of really how to manage bands and how to, make something of it. That was kind of the whole fucking point of me going to school. And then I have kind of a passion for one day maybe being a artist manager. But
Yeah.
I'm looking at this band. I'm like, we got the fucking music. We blow people away at almost every show we go to. We sound 9 times out of 10 tighter than a lot of the other bands out here playing. We really have a fucking shot. And I started putting plans in motion. Would try to set deadlines and try to really build a plan. And if you're not running the shit like a real business, it's not going to become a real fucking business, and you're going to keep jamming in your garage forever. And that's fine if that's what you want to do, but I was pushing hard at the time. Sean wasn't able to do all the things that I wanted him to do. Scotty wasn't able to do all the things that I was asking him to do. Both of them had things in their life that was kind of holding them back. And instead of really setting the expectations clearly, I thought through some of the conversations we had, we were on the same page.
Yeah.
But when the workload started, they were like, whoa, maybe we didn't realize what we agreed to.
Yeah.
And here I am pushing and pushing and pushing, and I had a lot going on. Like coming out of a fucking divorce, trying to finish school, money problems because I'm a broke student. raising kids. Like, I had some health shit going on. It was bad. And I almost went fucking nuts over it.
Yeah.
Because of that kind of delusional thought of, we're amazing, we're going to make it, and we're going to make it right now. And I wasn't really sprinkling the reality in. And so then I had a conversation with the guys. I expressed my issues. And then we kind of just talked it out and decided this is the level of work each of us can really put in. And then from there, then I built my plan.
Yeah.
And
you kind of put the cart before the horse, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so then I built my plan not so much around what all of our goals were or what we wished would happen. I kind of built a plan around what effort could each person put in, what effort can I put in without driving myself fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started doing it. And then when Preston came on, I was like, ooh, I got a buddy. Because Preston started taking a lot of interest in the business side of things after he was starting to get a lot of the songs down. And I was like, maybe we can speed this fucking train up, Jimmy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Having some help on the business side, yeah.
Yeah, and so then we started putting some plans in motion. We started getting motivated to get back in the studio and stuff like that. COVID kind of fucked us, and then we haven't really got our mindset right since then, I would say.
Until as of late, it
I was gonna
feels
say
like
until
it's sped
recently.
up a little bit, yeah.
But one of the hardest things I would say about being a musician, being in a band, and wanting to do something with it is sitting down, figuring out what can we do, and then what plan can I create that's going to get us where we want to go, and how long is that going to take? And after we had had that conversation, after my little mental breakdown, I kind of came up with a 5-year plan that was going to have us a regional success.
Okay.
And we were on track. Then we added Preston. And I was like, well, this is either going to be a little bit of a setback or a bump forward. Took a little while to get the songs down. We really kind of held off on writing for a while, but then we got the business side moving. And then I was like, man, this fucking plan might actually work. And it's crazy to look back and think, I really set a goal for 5 fucking years out. How many local bands are thinking that far out? When you were like fucking gun-ho, I want to be a rock star, this is my life, I hate going to work every day, I hate the life I live right now, I just want to be a fucking rock star, I want to be doing music for a living. Last thing you're thinking of is, what's my 5-year plan?
Yeah.
It's, I want to be famous like tomorrow. And look, we're about 5 years down the road from that conversation, and we're not where we wanted to be. And a lot of the reason is because we fell off the plan. You know, COVID didn't have to be the setback that we let it.
Sure.
I think it killed our spirits a little bit. But, you know, the same thing with, you know, this podcast. Kyler loves me saying in the group chat and in this garage, if you build it, they will come. And it's kind of that, in those early stages, it was, hey, here's our numbers for the day. Here's the downloads. Here's where we're at. We got a few more states.
I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, you got a little obsessed with it, and that's cool, man. It was exciting, and that's what kind of got me excited about doing this, because I hadn't been excited about something in a while. And it's kind of that, like, look, if you're a local band and you have the aspirations to do something, you're going to have to fucking get over the fact that it ain't going to happen tomorrow. most of the bands that you hear,
They've been doing it so
they've
damn
been,
long.
oh
man.
my
So
God,
good.
they had
Think of
been
Norma
at it
Jean,
forever.
You know?
Norma Jean was probably a fucking local band for a few years before they got any kind of recognition and got into a studio and
I mean,
record label and shit like
it was
that.
late
Like,
90s, right? First album?
I think it was like
And 50,000 band
98 or
members
99.
since then. Like,
God, they've had a ton of lineup changes.
yeah, I mean, it's.
Actually,
shit ain't
I don't
easy,
believe.
man.
I don't. I think I told you guys this. I don't think Norma Jean has one single original member in the band. Not one.
No, the oldest member is their current singer or vocalist,
Yeah.
screamer,
But
whatever
he
the fuck
wasn't
he
the
does.
original one.
But he was not the
Yeah,
original.
they do not
one.
have a single original member.
That's wild.
So
It's weird to think of that.
it is weird. I feel like you were
Like we start screaming evidence, and then 10 years down the road, none of us are in it.
somebody else is doing it. You're going, wait a fucking minute. Can you imagine like the original members of Norma Jean going, now wait a goddamn second.
Wait, what? What happened?
I feel like he was kind of talking to me a little bit there because I'll fully admit, like I did, I watched the fucking numbers.
Yep.
I get bent out of shape if I feel like an episode wasn't up to snuff. I not
Part
panic,
of
but
it, dude.
I worry about, meeting expectations and constantly putting out great content. And I guess that's a good quality, but it can be a negative quality too because being overcritical or scrutinizing or whatever it might be. And I feel like band is no different. So
It's the exact same.
I mean, we're writing these
Exact
new
same
songs
thing.
right now, and we get them recorded and just put in the computer so we can listen back through. And like I said, we came to the reality of these
they ain't there yet. They're not
these
ready
ain't
yet.
Close.
Yeah.
Ain't close.
We got a while to go.
Yeah. So I think those were some great points for some local bands. I do have another question in a similar vein. And I think this goes with not just a band, but any type of new business venture that you're starting out. It's very common to go to someone else that's been doing it and ask for advice or any kind of guidance. So, in regards to that, have you guys ever reached out to any musicians outside of your inner circle, like outside of, like your dad or, family and close friends, and asked advice regarding the band or, you as a musician? And if so, who were they and how did they help you?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few bands that I've reached out to and asked, like, hey, what do you guys do to get on these bigger bills? And unfortunately, there's a part of that answer that you hear where it's, well, you got to get in with this promoter. This promoter's going to ask you to sell however many tickets. And then there's a little bit of that discouraged feeling of, all right, so my people got to drive an hour and 20 minutes. I got to bring this certain amount of people. And then the other part of it is, sorry, I had a little bit of a brain fart there. When we were trying to get a little more serious before COVID and recording and stuff, like we needed scrims for the stage and we needed, there were certain, for t-shirts and merch ideas and stuff, there were certain bands that I reached out to, and Tyler mainly already had a lot of those connections, but being able to throw yourself out there, bands like Sour Blood that we had reached out to because we know they had been doing it for a long time. I'm trying to think, trying to get into the Cincinnati music scene. I had hit up some members of Avanti a few years back. They gave me a few connects. So it's all networking. I don't know that I've really reached out to certain bands for real advice, like maybe not on the creative side, but more on the business
side. And I think that's what I was really asking was more on the business side. So Tyler, go ahead, buddy. I'm sure you have several. And before
go ahead.
Just 1 second. Who to you, and this can be somebody in your inner circle, who has been the biggest help to you as a musician in a band? Is it somebody in the band? Is it someone from a different band?
Man, when you say biggest help, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, just it can be in a litany of things. getting you comfortable with being in a band and playing live shows. Any kind of advice you've gotten from someone that's just really stuck with you as a musician in a band, and helped you become better at your craft in that area.
Well, I mean, I would say Tyler's been a big mentor for me just because it was something that was so new to me.
So foreign,
Yeah,
right?
it was all foreign. And he just I was his little guinea pig. It just guided along. Other than Tyler, I don't know that there's been anybody that, there's sneak peeks of music I'll send to somebody and they'll say, yeah, that's cool, but try this or something like that. But I don't know.
Shout out,
Maybe
Derek.
you should whittly diddly
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Shout
I
out,
don't
Derek.
know that there's anybody that I truly turn to.
That's fair.
On the creative side, I rely on myself.
Yeah.
And the band for the most part. But on the business side, me and him really spearheaded ourselves, and we'll reach out to people if need be. But a lot of it we already, not that we know or we can figure.
Right.
We try to figure it out ourselves.
Yeah, you don't learn if you don't attempt
Yeah,
it. So.
yeah.
Tyler, I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
No,
Go
you're
ahead.
good. I would say, dude, we had Dad on last episode. Like, Dad taught me so fucking much.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I knew quite a bit of what goes on in the background because of Dad. Sean joked about it when he was here, like Dad was our coach with our first little band that we had, Standard, because Dad was really supportive and would, he brought us over to where his band was practicing. They had a solid PA and stuff like that. We would practice in there, and Dad'd be like, hey, do this, do that. Bro, quit scooping the mids. Shit like that. And, he was telling Sean, like, you gotta fucking holler in that thing. You know what I mean?
That's a hell of a holler
Yeah,
on
hell of a
you, boy.
holler on you.
But, so, having that for me helped out tremendously. Even when we started in Screaming Evidence and I'm hanging out with Scotty and Jason, these guys that were pushing 30, and I was a 16-year-old fucking punk. Like, I was teaching them some shit.
Yeah.
Just because Dad had already fucking taught me. And then through Dad, I had like Tony Tipton around. So I've always gotten great advice from him musically, creatively. He's a producer himself, so I've gotten a lot of advice from him on that side. Anytime I run into him, we're talking about music production for a poorly managed amount of time, and it's all these people I've had connections with since I was a fucking kid. Like, Tony changed my diapers, when I was a baby. Like, he's been around that long. So by the time I got into Screaming Evidence and I was like in my late teens doing the damn thing, that's where my ego and my arrogance got the better of me, because I just wouldn't fucking ask people for help.
Mm-hmm.
Because anytime I did, it was someone that would say some absolutely stupid shit. And I'm like, no, that's the best advice you got. Cool. I got that when I was like 12. But what happened from that is I didn't network very well.
Sure.
Because I thought I knew everything. I didn't feel like I needed to ask anybody anything. And when you ask somebody a question, like, they get a little giggity. Like, you came to me for advice? Okay. And you can build connections like that in the music industry. When me and Preston started getting more serious about pushing the band and stuff, it was very much, whether I knew the answer or not, sometimes I just reach out. When I went to get our shirts, like, could I have gotten the shirts I wanted? on my own, yes, sure I could have found whoever to do it. But I started asking like local bands, like, where are you getting your shirts from? You know, where are you getting that material from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is that material? Let me make sure I add that in my fucking order. And things like that. And it just, you end up linking up with local businesses rather than, you know, the stuff you're going to find when you Google, which was cool. We made some connections that way. That thing drives me nuts. Anyway, I had a squirrel moment, but
Squirrel.
I'd say some people I would like to talk to and like to get some advice from. You know, it was cool to talk to Avanti about getting into Cincinnati because they weren't from Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
They were from an hour away from Cincinnati, and it's
Right.
like, how the fuck did you guys get in there living so far away? Talking to the guys from Sour Blood about like, how are you booking these shows in Columbus so consistently on these big bills? Though I know part of it is they're not diluting their audience, so they're not booking these shows every weekend and asking their fans from here in Fayette County to go up there every weekend.
Yeah.
They're only booking a certain amount of shows up there, and so when they call upon their audience to, hey, come support us, buy some tickets, come watch us jam, more people are willing to do it. Screaming Evidence didn't always do that. We went on like a stint where it was like twice a month we were playing in Columbus, Dayton, or Cincinnati, and we did that for months on end, and it got to a point where we just weren't selling tickets anymore because our audience was kind of over it.
Mm-hmm.
So getting some advice from those guys would be cool. Figure out how they're getting into the King of Clubs. I know they got some connections with the people that run it. You know, some things like that.
Isn't that where Waste White just played?
Mm-hmm. It's a
Show-
poppin' venue right
show
now.
was
It's kind of
fucking
like the new
killer.
Alrosa. if
Show
I'm
was
not
killer, by
mistaken.
the way. I
Yep.
watched their videos,
Yep.
which, you know, I'm fucking obsessed with them. So I think it goes back to my old and favorite saying: a man has to know his limitations, and a man has to be able to admit when he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Words of wisdom from the Screaming Idiots. I think that was some kick-ass advice for local bands to ponder on.
Mm-hmm.
As the listeners know, that's a big part of this show is to support local bands and let these guys offer any kind of friendly advice that
Network.
that they can pass
Same as
along to
anything, but
you guys and hopefully you can use it. So I want to move into a little bit of a debate, and the thing that it just popped into my head today, and it really made me think, and I'm still not sure that I have my own answer to it, but I just want us to kind of bounce some ideas off of each other here and see if we can come up with something. What newer bands, and by newer I mean, you know, the last 10 years coming out, if any, do you guys think have that Metallica level of longevity?
0.
And what
yep.
and what I mean by that is still producing new music, touring, and whatnot 20 to 30 years from now at a very high level. 0?
I think 0. I think people's attention spans, we're in an instantaneous society.
And that's where I landed. I'm like,
Yep.
I can't think. And there are so many bands that I love and am obsessed with right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I will be in.
5 years.
Yeah. I mean, 5's kind of for the bands that I really love. As long as they keep
Yeah.
putting out music,
Yeah.
they keep doing the things they're doing. But 20 or 30 years from now, I mean, bro, Metallica's been doing it for 40 years, man.
Yep.
Kill 'Em All is 40 years old.
It was something about the 80s and 90s, like it just.
I think that because there was I think there was way less bands in the 80s and 90s than there are now. There are fucking thousands upon thousands of groups out there right now. And back then, it just felt like there wasn't that many. And maybe there were, they just weren't accessible because of technology, right?
Yeah.
And like you, I mean, we've said it before on the show, and you just said it. We live in an instantaneous society where everything we want is at the fucking tips of our fingers. It's right here.
Yep.
We're an iPad generation.
Yep.
And we get so bored with certain content after a certain period of time. And bands like Metallica, and there's so many others that I could use as an example from that era that are still, what's the word I'm looking for? Not relevant.
Yeah.
Now, Metallica is one of the few that is from that era that is still touring,
relevant.
still
Yep.
putting out new records, good records, and are still as relevant as selling out stadiums all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of it. Right. Well, I mean, that Megadeth, you know, they're still selling out big shows, putting out new music all the time, all that shit.
And there's probably genres that we're forgetting or not mentioning that maybe they are still more relevant however many years later. But specifically like the metal genre, yeah, I mean, I don't know who is still doing it at a high level.
Yep. So it's zero.
It's zero.
Still
You
good
know,
topic.
kind
I'm
of
glad.
talking about touching on a few things you guys discussed. Look, the internet was cool. It kind of killed the record labels. But with every good thing comes something fucking shitty too.
Sure.
And what we have is a lack of gatekeepers.
A lack of gatekeepers?
A lack.
Boy, that's a hot take.
gatekeepers.
There's going to be a lot of people going,
I don't give a fuck. All right, if you disagree with that, you know, fuck you.
Fuck.
But
Damn.
here's the
That's
thing:
metal as fuck.
there's no gatekeeper to say, all right, through me and only through me, your music will be available to the public.
Oh, that kind of
Because
gatekeeper.
there's no one able to really do that, because record labels no longer have the grip and the hold on the music industry that they had back in the 80s and kind of even in the 90s. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry with a fucking computer or an iPhone that can record themselves playing, you know, in a garage or a basement or whatever, can upload their music to the YouTubes. It really doesn't take that much to get your music on Spotify and iTunes and, you know, Pandora and all these things. It does not take that much effort. And all you need is like fucking $50 to pay the fee, and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And because there's so much being uploaded every fucking hour of the day, there is this huge wall of noise. And the only way for you to make it big is to break through that wall of noise. And it is so difficult to do that because there's thousands of bands out there trying to do the same thing. And so everyone's fighting for the attention.
Boy, that's a perfect way to put it.
And because everyone's fighting for the attention, the sad reality is that even when you do make it, you ain't done fighting, bitch.
No.
No.
Hey, we've talked about it a lot. Polaris.
Yep.
They're losing that fight because they haven't put out anything
Not putting
new.
out
3
new
years.
content. Yep.
They're not putting out content to keep people interested. Yeah, they're touring all around the world and stuff. And all around the world, I
But they're
mean,
playing
the US, UK, and Australia.
They're playing 3-year-old songs.
Pretty much. And it's like,
Yep.
y'all gotta like balance playing out and writing new music and delivering new content. Do I still listen to them in the gym about once a week? Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I do. But it has started to get stagnant, and
Yep, I would
they're not
agree.
in the rotation as frequently as they once were. And so that longevity is so incredibly difficult to obtain and maintain. I don't think there is any band out there within the last 10 years that is ever going to even scratch the surface of what Metallica did
I would agree.
or has done.
Yeah, I mean,
Still doing, unfortunately for me.
yeah. Well, it goes back. I mean, Metallica's the greatest band of all time. They're,
I believe so.
Simply put, they're the greatest band of all time. Like them, hate them, doesn't matter. What they've done is in our opinion,
They are inevitable.
yeah, they're inevitable. They are unrepeatable. I mean, 40 years they've been doing this shit at the pinnacle of what you can do it at. They're the only band in the world that's played on all fucking seven. They played a goddamn show in Antarctica. They played on all 7 continents. They sell out the
Just
biggest.
because they can.
Exactly. They sell out the biggest venues in the world every night they play. They put out a new record. They're in their fucking 50s, and like late 50s, like almost 60, and still go out and fucking jam. And the thing is in order to do that, they had to capture younger generations too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just the guys our dad's age. It's our
us.
generation.
Yeah, I mean,
That are in our 20s.
Yep.
That go to those shows and listen to that music.
Late 20s, by the way.
Yeah, don't remind us, bro. You're still the
I
oldest
did.
one.
I am.
So,
If I'm going to be in pain today, everyone's going to be in pain.
so they have done something that I don't know that
nope.
anybody else in any genre of music has ever been able to do.
I do think there are bands maybe from like early 2000s that, might still have the longevity
Here's
aspect.
where it gets interesting.
However, are they going to do it to the level Metallica did? No.
No. And that
Will they have the longevity, like the Foo Fighters
yes.
came out.
Mhm.
When did their first album drop? Wasn't it like late 90s?
I believe it was, but I can
So
pull it
like
up.
there's some bands there that will continue the longevity. Alice in Chains is still rocking and rolling, and they're
Slipknot,
fantastic.
Korn,
all
the
these
remains.
bands.
Not all the remains. I'm sorry. They Kill Switch.
Yep.
So there is a lot of bands that. So my question wasn't necessarily to the level, but the longevity piece. So the
But last 10 years, no.
No, not yeah. That was my whole thing. Was last 10 years, because even back in the late 90s, early 2000s, music still was not as easily accessible as it is now. There was no streaming.
Right.
People were still buying CDs. They were, you get into the 2005, 6, 7, you get LimeWire and Napster and all that shit, crash your
Well,
computer shit. But
We were even
95
talking
was
about
Foo
how
Fighters.
we were listening to music in high school and middle school and stuff, and
CDs.
It was CDs and
Yeah.
the YouTubes started, but wasn't quite the huge thing it
No,
was.
it was
What
all
was
me.
the
Remember
other
how
one?
Pandora captured?
There was a
Pandora
few,
was huge at one
Pandora's
time.
a big deal because you could swipe through and just
I think it
I
was in,
found
like,
this
10th
band. Oh,
grade
I
Yeah,
found
because
this
it was all
band.
randomized. It was like radio
in the same
stations.
genre. Yeah.
Yeah. What were you saying,
online
Tyler?
radio.
Online
But,
radio.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a few other video channels out there. Like YouTube had to compete in the
At one
beginning.
time. Yeah.
I think even Yahoo had like a video thing.
Oh man, I think you're right because I had a Yahoo email like when email was first a thing, and everybody actually used Yahoo before they got hacked and yeah, my account was one of those. So hopefully I get paid when this settlement thing happens. But but yeah, YouTube when it first came out, bro, YouTube was not like all music. It was a bunch of fucking memes and goofy shit and chocolate rain, that shit.
Chocolate rain.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we make a good point in regards to staying
Some
relevant.
chicken and some waffle fries for free. Bro, I remember all those old YouTube videos.
I have no idea
I'm sorry,
what we're
go
talking
ahead.
about. No, you're good. So we talk about staying relevant, and there's a couple examples as of late that I feel like is what you have to do as a band to make something of yourself. And we've been talking a little bit at Spirit Box lately. They had dropped Eternal Blue, was good. People jammed it, and then they dropped a 3-song EP. I wasn't crazy about it, but some people loved it. And then now they dropped this new single, and maybe a new
Void.
album's coming. And
Killer song,
then
by the way.
we noticed that they're about to tour with Shinedown
And Papa Roach.
and Papa Roach, and it's like, okay, they're doing something different. They're not a Polaris where they're releasing an album 3 years later, releasing another, and touring in between. Like I feel like they understand like what's going on with our instantaneous society of we got 6 months and we got to have new stuff.
And
out.
here's the thing
EPs and
about
singles are back.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about Spirit Box. They were releasing that EP and that single while they were touring with Bad Omens.
Yeah.
So they're
Yep.
putting content out on the fucking road.
Yep. And then a band like Moths to Flames, they dropped
Predestination.
No Eternity.
Oh,
No Eternity in Gold. Awesome. We jammed it. And then they drop the EP.
Oh,
what was
God.
it called?
They
I
had
apologize.
Ameliorate on it. And
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but
Gnashing
yes.
Teeth and all that.
Yeah.
They dropped that EP.
They disrespected the entire community when they dropped that.
Oh my God. And it came out of nowhere. And we were obsessed with it.
They were like, we're better than all of you.
And they were touring. We went and seen them.
Yep.
And then it's been some time, probably 6 months. I'm not sure on the timeline, but now they
sounds
drop
about right.
another single.
They're dropping another one.
And they drop one this upcoming week.
Yeah, which I know while a lot of you are listening to this, it's already been out
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whatnot. But y'all know how the deal works for season 2.
Right.
Don't worry, we'll have bonus content coming to break down the new Currents album, break down new Mavs shit.
And
Hang
I think
in there.
there's a new model of, well, we got to release an album, then we got to release an EP 6 months later, then we have
Pure like porcelain.
Pure like porcelain, yeah, duh. Then we have to drop
And they dropped
a single.
But bro, did you forget about Basilisk and Inherit
Yeah,
the
I
Tragedy
forgot
in between
about that. Yeah, yep.
Porcelain and No Eternity in Gold?
Was that in between?
Yes, that was in 21. So
I
they
would
dropped.
say part of it might be the support that they have.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, Polaris might not, because Polaris isn't on the same level as like Moths to Flame as
Yeah, they
far as
haven't
their
been doing it long
popularity and
enough.
stuff. Maybe their labels and tour managers and agents and stuff like that really can't justify doing business the way that like Moths to Flames does. Like Moths to Flames, they're probably on
Signed
the
to
road
the same label.
and they're doing
Well, no, different
No, they're
labels. Different labels, but both as big as each other. Sharp Tone and UNFD.
yeah. But
Yeah,
if
UNFD's
I'm a
getting
business
there.
owner, where am I going to put more of my eggs?
What do
Yeah.
you mean?
Your basket Polaris or your basket likes Moths?
Oh, Moths,
So
because they're just constantly they're
they're already big.
Mm-hmm.
They have a larger following.
Mm-hmm.
Larger following means more money, so I'm gonna put more eggs in the basket that's going to give me the most
they're
return.
playing bigger shows.
Yep.
They're on bigger bills. They're headlining bigger bills.
I don't know.
So
I've
it's
seen Polaris have some, probably in Australia, but I've seen Polaris have some big ass shows.
Mostly
But I get
Australia.
what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean I don't know if this is actually how they're doing it, but like Moths to Flames, they can probably, with the support that they're likely getting, and the success they've already had, they can likely hit up studios while they're on the road, have like 2 weeks in between shows where they don't have to fucking be anywhere.
Go record a couple
and
singles.
it's like
Yeah.
we're going to get in this studio and we're going to record, a couple singles, like you said. And it's
Yeah.
all right. Now we have something to drop.
Yeah, dude. They did that because the No Eternity in Gold was 2020. 2021 they dropped Inherit the Tragedy and Basilisk,
And then Pure Like Porcelain.
and then Pure Like Porcelain after that, and now they're on to Predestination Paradox, and they're coming out with a new one
Yep.
this week. So and they're touring.
Well, and that's a good piece because the label realizes what the model that needs to be out
UNFD
there,
artists, I'm telling
Yeah.
you, UNFD is the best label out there right now.
metal wise.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it
was
does feel like Sharp Tone
Tone
fell off a bit.
Sharp Tone had a really nice run there for a while because it was Sumerian. Sumerian was like all the crabcore bands
Yep.
were all Sumerian,
Yep.
and then Sharp Tone comes out of nowhere and starts picking up all the heavier bands.
Yep.
And they had like a 5-6 year run of being purely dominant, and then out of nowhere, like 2 years ago, UNFD comes out swinging out of left
Yep.
field.
At
And
least to us.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
And then they start signing Invent Animate, all the Era, Moths, all these super popular
Yep.
metalcore bands,
And
they're
they
just
boosted them all.
oh my god.
Yeah.
Question. I
Answer.
don't know if you guys
Daily
know
Double.
this or not, but is UNFD an independent label?
No clue, bro.
I don't know, but I do know it's a label out of Australia.
Let me do a little quick research for you.
Because that might be the difference. if UNFD is
Independent.
okay,
Melbourne, Australia.
Well, check
Okay.
Sharptone.
so that's impressive. Being an independent label.
Why don't you explain for the listeners the difference between an independent and a non-independent,
Oh boy.
if you can.
So
You don't have to go too deep. Sharptone's independent
to
too.
try
Yeah, I
to sum it
figured
up
so.
quickly, the majority of the labels in the music industry around the world are owned by one of three record labels. You have Sony, you have Warner, and you have Universal.
Yep.
And each of them owns several subsidiary record labels, and each of those labels own a series of subsidiary record labels, and that
It's a giant tree.
that tree just grows out from there. And what they are is they're conglomerates in business terms. One company that owns a bunch of companies that own a bunch of companies.
So it's like the auto world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the money trickles down, and it also trickles back up. And so if you are one of these labels that are considered not independent, you're probably within one of those conglomerates, and you probably have serious money backing you
Yeah.
when you get started and you're kind of getting things going. But as an independent label is really just a label that's not part of one of those conglomerates, and you may have some serious financial backing to get going, or you might be starting really fucking lean.
Fight the man, bro.
And UNFD, maybe they started lean, or maybe they had some serious financial backing and were able to come straight out the gate, getting, attracting major artists that have been doing it for a while, and then getting some new guys that they can really push, and under their umbrella of UNFD, a lot of bands that are on the same record label tend to tour together and things like that. So
In my mind's eye, UNFD stands for You Need Fucking Deathcore.
Oh
Ooh.
God.
maybe we should Google it. Ask the Google what it means.
I thought you just Googled it.
I didn't Google what it
The
meant.
acronym.
Yeah, bro.
Another one that, on a smaller scale, is a rising empire.
That's
like
another one.
Novelists
Yep.
and Landmarks and a few others belong to them.
Is it a French label?
Could be. It definitely could be. It would make sense.
So the parent company of UNFD is Unified Music Group. So I think it's just an acronym for Unified.
Okay.
So, but yeah, they are based out of Melbourne, Australia.
Okay. Yeah, I remember reading
So
that a
is
while
Parkway with them now? No, they'd probably be making good
back.
music.
They'd be making better music.
They're probably with fucking Sumerian. Sumerian's not independent, are they? They're
I'm pretty sure they are.
Are they really? Still?
Didn't we play a show
Google
that
machine.
was like involved with Sumerian Records?
Yeah,
or
so
something?
they have, I think he was an A&R rep that would go around and he would find local bands
They're with
and
you.
his.
They're owned by Universal. I didn't think they were independent.
Yeah, so they're Universal. Anyway, that's weird because they suck. But this dude was going around trying to find bands, and he was trying to build like a network of bands and be able to more easily bring bands around touring together and really working together to set up shows like outside of their particular community. The name of it was something stupid, but we played this show and he talked to us, and then he was like, I really like you guys, kind of talked us up, and then was like, I'm gonna add you guys to this list, this whole networking thing I'm doing. And then I don't know what the fuck happened to the dude, but he seemed like he was kind of fucked up when he was there. So I think either he wasn't quite as high up the chain as he thought he was, or he
just wasn't
he
legit.
was just talking bullshit to us when. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was not where I expected that conversation to go, but I'm damn sure glad it went there because that's an
Yeah.
interesting topic. Is the whole the record piece of it, because so many of these metalcore bands have found their way and found their sound through these independent music labels that have made them blow up. Like Sharptone and UNFD have just skyrocketed.
I've said it time and time again, and so have you guys. Like, I wasn't sold on Moths until I heard No Eternity in Gold, and that was under UNFD. And
then you went
because
back
of
and
the
listened to the old
production
shit.
of it, it was like, oh, why the fuck did I miss out on these guys?
Yeah, and then it made you go back and listen
Yeah,
to the old shit,
yep.
and you're like, wow, this shit's good too. It's just not as crisp or whatever.
And then you have what's cool with UNFD and Sharptone specifically, like they're signing, bands like Holding Absence, Caskets, like some different stuff.
Yep.
Yours truly, if I'm not mistaken.
Caskets is with UNFD now?
One of them, I'm pretty sure Caskets is with either Sharptone or UNFD.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Currents is UNFD, right? Or are they still
Sharptone.
Sharptone? Okay.
Sharptone, yep. And I don't know that anybody switched from Sharptone to UNFD, but seems like those two kind of compete with each other.
Who's Bleed From Within with?
They're kind of, it's something different.
I'm going to find out.
Something different.
I'm going to find out. I'm going to tell you in 3, 2, 1. Nuclear Blast.
Yeah.
I've heard of that before.
Yep.
It's a, let's see, they've got Rob Zombie. Okay.
Oh, okay.
In Flames, As I Lay
In
Dying.
Flames, that makes sense.
As I Lay Dying,
it all
Slayer.
makes sense now.
Hatebreed. So a
Excuse
lot of those old school metalcore bands. Yeah, I didn't know that, but you would think they would have been with somebody like a Sharptone, but I mean they're not. They've been around since, I guess they've been around for 10
We
years.
will come around to Bleed From Within later on in this episode.
Yes, we will. So, well, that was a kick-ass conversation, but now I'm going to make you both really mad at me. And this one
hell.
is for all the Dad Rock fans out there. As y'all know, Dad Rock is near and dear to our heart. Tyler's tilting his head back because he knows what's coming. And if you've been following the show at all for the past few episodes, you know that we have a segment called This or That. And I've got a special one for all the Dad Rock fans out there. It's going to make you scratch your head. As with all the other This or That's, you can only pick one. The other one goes away forever. This or that. Clear my throat here. Creed or Breaking Benjamin. Just let that one marinate for a second, because remember, you only get to keep
It was
one.
easy for you, so
It was.
you go ahead.
Go ahead, Preston.
Breaking Benjamin because they're heavier.
Yeah.
I related with them as a kid a little bit more. Breaking Benjamin was one of those bands that shot me into kind of a new realm of music. Even though I absolutely love Creed, it would be Breaking Benjamin for me.
So while Tyler is pondering and hating me for this, I'm going to explain my stance on it, because I also picked Breaking Benjamin. And when I came up with this, the way I thought about it wasn't an easy decision at all, because I love them both. But I grew up on Creed. I evolved into Breaking Benjamin.
Yep.
Creed was what my dad had every Creed CD, and we listened to it. in
Whose
the truck
dad
all-
didn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah,
You know.
it's Dad Rock, bro.
Yep.
I don't
So-
think my dad did.
That's probably fair. Your dad's pretty metal.
Yeah.
So, I grew up listening to Creed.
I just
and,
lost some respect for Big Ed.
and
Some bullshit
Charlie.
right there.
Special-
For Charlie.
special ed. So, I grew up listening to Creed and loved them. And then, Josh Ader is actually the one that got me into Breaking Benjamin.
Okay.
Funny enough, in elementary school.
Shout out, Josh.
Would love to get him
Hope
on the
you're
show
listening,
sometime.
man.
I hope you are listening. I hope you're doing well, bro. So Josh got me into Breaking Benjamin in, I don't know, 4th or 5th grade, something like that. And the first song I ever heard was Blow Me Away.
Okay.
And it was because he had heard the song on the movie 300.
Yep.
And so it made me go watch 300 for one. And then it made me dive into Phobia.
Mm-hmm.
And which Blow Me Away wasn't on the album, I don't think. But
I think
just made,
Phobia was 06 or something like that.
yeah, so, somewhere around there. So it made me dive into that album. And then I'm like, oh, what is this? And I was instantly hooked, just instantly hooked, and was obsessed with them for a long, long time. Still love Breaking Benjamin. I listen to Breaking Benjamin more than I do Creed these days.
Mm-hmm.
Not by much, but a little. So for me, it was just because of the evolution that Breaking Benjamin did for me. Choose your words wisely as you show your phobia tattoo to the camera there.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, well, you've only got one of these bands tattooed on your body, bro.
This is true. All right, so long story short, Breaking Benjamin is who I would choose to listen to.
It was painful, though, wasn't it?
It was painful.
Yeah.
But I guess the main reason why is because kind of the fall of Creed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you hear Sean and I kind of joking around about Scott Stapp, it's the look at me. And, like, when we...
Look at me.
So after Scott shaved his head and they did, like, this reunion tour, and...
He was blitzed out of his mind constantly.
He was less Jesus-like.
Look, he shaved his head, and they did this... like DVD set for their like live show, and this dude is wearing like this silky black shirt, but like after the first song it was soaked.
Soaked.
And he's running up and down the stage
so
saying,
drunk.
look at me, look at me, and like dude had just completely lost his pipes, man. And I was like, bro, but you were God. And that was really sad. And I stopped listening to Creed for a long time because of that. Because every time I'd listen to a Creed song that I once loved, all I could see was him with a shaved head in a super
black silk shirt.
It was like a long sleeve button up.
Bro, it looked like a pirate shirt. It was like it billowed in the wind until it became suction cupped to his fucking man titties. Look at me as he's like
Look
trying
at my titties.
Sweating out fucking 10 fists of whiskey.
Yeah,
or
bro.
whatever.
Mark Tremonti's going. Yeah, this is
I'm
why I'm in Alder Bridge
definitely
now.
But man, those like Human Clay album, bro. God, that was amazing. And then what was the album called with My Own Prison?
Don't
That
know
was
the
it.
name of it. No, it
Wasn't
wasn't.
it?
My Own Prison wasn't on Human Clay.
My
I
Own
don't
Prison
think.
No.
was the
My
one
Own Prison
before.
was the album, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is what you're
Those
saying.
two albums for me were, I fucking love those albums. But
What
like,
album was What If on?
I want to say
My
that
Own Prison was an
Human
album, yeah.
Clay.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It was Human Clay.
Hey,
was
it's
like
not a
heavy
Screaming
Creed for me.
Idiots show podcast without a little bit of Creed karaoke.
So it's funny because What If is actually my favorite Creed song, I think. And
Probably,
Torn. And
yeah.
Torn.
You gotta say Torn.
Yeah, you know I love Torn.
But after that, man, they kind of fell off, and they they just had this fall of the Creed.
I don't pick up my guitar without playing the opening clean to Torn ever. Ever. I play it every time I
hard
pick up
not
a
to.
guitar. I love it.
But
Oh, go ahead.
anyway, Breaking Benjamin only has one album that I
Dark
kind of
Before Dawn.
dislike. Yes,
And I fucking think you guys are nuts. I love that album.
that album sucked.
I'm
Bro, you're
indifferent about
nuts.
it.
I love that record.
It was not good.
I
It
think
was
it's better than Ember.
look
Oh,
that album.
that's a hot take.
That album was the very first album I ever purchased on Apple iTunes. And then I listened to it. And I was so mad
Give me my fucking money back.
that
you
album
fucking
was
computer.
also the last album I ever purchased on Apple iTunes. Because I was like, dude, I can't believe I just bought that and it sounded like shit. Because prior to that, if I went and bought a CD, I'd go to, what was that store? Like FYE or something like that?
yeah. Yes, the blue logo with the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to go to FYE, and that's where I would find like new CDs.
I cannot
and
believe you don't
stuff.
like Dark Before Dawn. When angels fall with broken
I
wings.
mean, that was an alright song,
Bro.
but like,
Failure? Hollow? Oh my God.
I couldn't do it.
Ashes of Eden? Defeated? Bro, that...
Ashes of Eden was terrible.
That whole album is a ballad jam. I'm so disappointed you don't like that album.
It just doesn't do it
I
for
think
me.
it had better songs as a whole than Ember did. I really do. You can hate me if you want, but
I think Ember seduced me a little bit with how when it came out, I was mowing my yard listening to it in my headphones, and I stopped mowing like 6 times because I was like, God damn, this sounds amazing.
yeah,
Because the production was
the
just
production's
like
incredible on
perfect.
that record. Yeah.
I would stop mowing and I would just stand there in the middle of my yard for a second, like, how do I get me to sound like that without like 40 grand?
So let's go around the room here real quick. And what is your favorite Creed song, and what is your favorite Breaking Benjamin song?
I really struggle with this because I've always had a hard time picking favorites.
That's fair.
Um,
Mine for Breaking Benjamin's tough. It's between Dear Agony and probably Dance with the Devil. Those are two that just, God, every time I hear them, they hit me so hard. Probably Dance with the Devil. That's probably an unpopular opinion, but I just love that song.
Yeah.
And if I had to pick one from Creed, it's probably Torn.
For me, mine would be Weathered by
Oh.
Creed.
Okay.
That's a jam.
It is a jam.
Um,
Is that off My In Prison?
I just
Is
had
that
it
off Human
pulled up.
Clay?
I'd have to say Breath
Okay. Yep, that's a
That's a
classic.
from
absolute
Breaking
jam.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
Creed. Let me look at this real quick because
Creed Weathered is
you
off
don't
of
tell
Weathered.
me, bro.
You don't tell me.
Weathered is off of the album Weathered.
Oh, okay.
That was a good album too. Ooh, One Last Breath.
Breaking Benjamin.
As these boys are looking through their
man.
phones because they're
Weathered was
terrible
such
with
a
names.
jam. Bullets is the song that's like, look at me.
Should have been dead.
That's metal as fuck.
Oh, Are You Ready? Oh, that's a
Mhm.
fuck, man. I can't pick a favorite. Ooh, Never Die.
That's fair.
Oh,
you don't have
man.
to pick one.
Never Die
Until
is
the
a
end.
jam.
Until the End by Breaking Benjamin might be my favorite.
Well, I'm surprised that one of us didn't take Creed, but just goes to show how influential I think Breaking Benjamin is
They
on
were
all
so
of us.
huge to all of us. Yep.
We've talked about how they are a transcendent band, and
they've stayed relevant for us, even though me and you like got into the heavier metalcore
Yeah.
and stuff. But we would never skip Breaking
no,
Benjamin.
no,
like,
no, because
you know?
they're a different kind of heavy, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just we talk about it all the time. How heavy is a feeling, and I feel like every Breaking Benjamin
Yep.
song is so fucking heavy.
Yep.
Their songwriting in general is so heavy.
Yep.
Ben Burnley does just a fantastic job, and I've seen him live. I think you have too.
I have not.
I thought you had. I've seen them live. Killer live show too. They're so much fun to see live.
And what's weird, I've heard from one person they're horrible live, and from the next I've heard they're absolutely amazing.
They might be one of those bands that's hit or miss.
Yeah.
I think maybe because Ben's voice is so unique that if he's having an off night vocally, it
Yeah.
might just not be. You know, they're a very vocally driven band.
Right.
So, but anyway, so that was a good one. All right, time to dive into the season 2 finale of Heavy Metal Hot Takes, and what I've got here is a really interesting topic that I'm sure everybody has thought about, but maybe never thought about it out loud. Hang on tight for this one because it's a long one. Selling out is not the same thing as getting big, meaning just because a band gains more mainstream popularity doesn't mean that they are sellouts. Obscurity doesn't always equal cool. And for me, examples are bands like Era, like Moss to Flames, Currents, August Burns Red, who just got popular without changing their sound, while bands like Fit for a King, Memphis Mayfire, Of Mice and Men, Avenged Sevenfold, and All That Remains, in my opinion, sold out and changed their sound to become more mainstream and popular.
That was a mouthful.
I know, yeah.
Tyler.
I mean, yeah, I agree in the sense that, you know, becoming big and becoming popular doesn't necessarily mean that you sold out. I think you give really good examples of kind of the differences with some of these bands. Like, look, you go back and listen to like Moss to Flames, their first few albums / EPs that they had out, bro, they were just as gnarly back then. Or, I'm sorry, they're just as gnarly now as they were back then.
Yep. Didn't change that
just
mold.
refine their sound.
Yeah, just refine their sound.
And then you have bands like, I didn't want to agree with Of Mice and Men. However, their last two albums have been rough. So even though I kind of came in late in the game, and you feel like that's when they kind of started to...
Restoring Force was kind of that tipping point, I think.
Yeah, I would agree, because it was Another You on that album that was pretty soft. It's an amazing song, and that's the song I first heard by them. Sean actually sent it and was like, "Hey, check this out. I wonder if it'd be possible for us to do it." The answer was no. But that was because at the time I could not scream like that at all. And that's what got me into that band. I was like, oh, fuck, I like this shit.
Well, and another band I mentioned was Memphis Mayfire. Because their first couple albums, Sleepwalking, The Hollow, and Challenger, were straight up metalcore. And then you go into their album Unconditional, This Light I Hold, Broken, and then their newest one, Remade in Misery. And they're just like, it's hardcore. It's post-hardcore is what it is.
The new album, they kind of delve back into their heavier ways, but it's like more modern feeling.
Did you call it hardcore?
Post-hardcore. Sorry. Post-hardcore.
We're going to get into this whole genre
Post-hardcore.
I was going to say, man, Norma Jean's going to show up and whip
No,
our ass.
definitely not hardcore. Definitely not hardcore. Post-hardcore. But they changed their sound and they've reinvigorated their career because it gained them a whole bunch of new fans. And it turned old fans like me completely off of them. Like, I'm out.
We Came as Romans.
Oh, yeah.
Which, did they do
I would
that
almost
before
disagree
Kyle
with,
died?
No, I would almost disagree with you because go listen to fucking Daggers and tell me that ain't heavy as fuck.
Well, the one they did, was it Cold Like War? Was that the
Cold Like
album
War.
with Kyle?
Without Kyle. It was the first album without Kyle, I believe. When Kyle
No,
passed
because
away.
Kyle's on Cold Like
Is he?
War.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
So it
on
was
Cold
after
Like
that.
War.
That album's incredible.
Something
It's
about
not
there's
to
a
plant
few
a
songs.
seed. It's not growing what we've under. I know.
Yeah.
But it's
But
still
I wouldn't
really
consider
good.
him a sellout or anything
No,
like that.
them I
because
would
of
not.
That. Yeah.
But like Moths and Era are the perfect examples for me because they and August Burns Red's another one.
Yep.
Those dudes, especially August Burns Red, they've been around for a long fucking time.
Yep.
Since the early 2000s.
Yep.
Go back and listen to Marianas Trench
Yep.
and listen to anything they're doing now. It's the same thing. They just refine their sound. They're still playing the same style of music that they played
That we all
20
know and
years
love.
ago, 15 years ago. And they're incredibly popular. They got popular by doing what they do at an elite level. And that's the difference between that and a band like, dude, it kills me to say, but like All That Remains are fucking sellouts, bro.
Yeah.
Like they were doing the damn thing better than so many people out there. And apparently it wasn't enough for them, or I don't know what happened, but they completely changed their sound, and it fucking
Did it have to do with Ollie dying?
Maybe. No, because he was still alive when they put out the
There's the one with the guns on the front.
Yeah.
The album with the guns
That
on
has
the front.
What If I Was Nothing on it? That album? Yeah.
Oh shit, I don't know.
No, that's it. That What If I Was Nothing is on that album. But they completely changed their sound and went super mainstream, and I'm just like, why?
No thanks.
I'm out. And I'm not saying it's not
A War You
Five-Finger Death
Cannot
Punch.
Win. Yeah,
A
I
War
think
You
A
Cannot
War You
Win.
Cannot Win was the album that it was like, nope.
No, Five Finger Death Punch has just been putting the same fucking 3 riffs into every album for the last 15 years.
But then The Order of Things, which was 3 years later from All That Remains, there's quite a few on that album we really liked. Like Victory Lap, Pernicious, Bite My Tongue.
But it wore off on me quickly. It was not
the album
the fall
that
of
truly
Ideals.
did it was Madness in 2017.
that
it
was
fucking
awful.
horrible.
Bro.
Horrible.
That record was terrible.
And then Victim of the New Disease, we could not stand.
Nope, don't like that one either. No, The Order of Things was really good.
Which was after the A War You Cannot Win.
A War You Cannot Win had a couple on there.
Yeah.
But it was not For We Are Many. It was not Overcome. It was
Right.
not This Darkened Heart.
Yeah.
You know, Fall of Ideals, all that. But they're incredibly popular. They were. I don't even know if they're doing anything together these days. But, when Ollie died, that kind of went out the window. But I guess my whole point was, obscurity does not always equal cool.
Correct.
But there is a difference between, there are bands out there that got popular by selling out. Bro, and we hate on Avenged Sevenfold a lot on this show. But go back and listen to their first couple albums. That shit was pretty... I mean, I'm not saying it was good because M Shadow sounds like a dying rat.
Yeah.
But it was still pretty heavy. It was still pretty metally. And they changed their sound, man. They went mainstream. They went...
Metally. That's metal as fuck.
Yeah, metally. Metally as fuck.
But I see why you brought it up as a hot take, and the reason I see it is because there's a lot of bands that'll blow up, and even they change nothing, but some of their like loyal, quote unquote loyal fans or like earlier fans will be like, they sold out. Fuck them guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing them on 99.7 The Blitz now, so
I'm out.
Yeah. It's like, why don't you just be happy that one of your favorite bands or a band that you liked fucking got some success?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they didn't change their sound.
If they didn't change their sound. And even if they changed it a little bit, look.
You don't have to like it.
I ain't gonna fucking lie, bro. Like, if I had to go back to playing shit like Imaginary Lights and False Beliefs and Trust Issues and some of these kind of more prettier songs that we don't really play anymore.
Yeah.
So that I can do music for a living. You bet your ass False Beliefs all day per day. Let's go.
I get you.
I don't give a fuck. But
I think it's the drastic changes that turn a lot of people off.
Mm-hmm. But like on the other hand, dude, you can only write the same shit so much. That's a lot of why we changed our sound in Screaming Evidence. I mean, before Preston showed up, we were changing our sound, but it was like we could only write the same shit so much before it was like, well, we should probably do something a little different.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on your own influences.
I guess
as well.
I am, I'm the world renowned gatekeeper of metal.
How dare you?
I know, I'm terrible. I'm a terrible human being. Ask the people on TikTok. They'll tell you all about it.
There's not enough gatekeepers.
No, there's not. And I'm happy to be one of them. So all you fucking people out there that think Beartooth's a great band, you can suck my dick. Because they fucking suck. Yeah, you sent that new Beartooth song and it made me want to kill myself.
It was all right. I didn't love it, but I thought it was all right.
That dude's voice is just
their
nails on a
last album
chalkboard.
hurt my soul.
Yes.
Because I really enjoyed their first three
I will
albums.
say there are a couple of Beartooth songs that I'm like, yeah, that's all right. I can dig that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their lyrics, I'll be banging my head till my brain rots. That's metal as fuck, bro.
Yeah. No, they have a couple songs that and so does I Prevail. But they're just, I just don't think there's anything great about those bands. They're just cookie cutter metal bands.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They don't do anything inventive.
Beartooth does some wild shit, man.
Doesn't mean
There's
it's
some
good.
guitar riffs and shit that I hear I don't know that I can
We
play.
got two goddamn Beartooth fans in here.
No, I mean I feel the same. That last album, it just to me. But they write some crazy shit, man.
Yeah, I've always struggled with just being I've said it before, I don't like change. I'm always stuck in the same mold of, you guys have had to fight tooth and nail to get me to like certain shit. I may come around to it, I may not. But when like one of my favorite bands, like that's why I was so disheartened when All the Remains went the way they went. Because that was a band that did so much for me. And when they changed their sound and went more sonic and more rocky,
There's a part of us that was kind of missing.
I was just like, oh, man, what a letdown.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean that they weren't writing good songs. It was just, I was so accustomed, 15 years of this from this band, and then they just do a 180 on me, and I'm like, man, fuck. You know, it just really got me.
Yeah.
It hurt me. So I've always struggled with, you know, and boy, that makes perfect sense to what your dad said last episode about how that generation felt about what Metallica did in 1991.
Yep.
They made such a drastic change from what they had just come off of And Justice for All, which is one of the fastest fucking albums ever, to this slow, what I felt, what I know.
Yeah.
Like, and your dad's probably
I
sitting
love
there going,
karaoke time. On
yeah,
the show.
dude, I sing
Hey, I don't
way
care
too
what
much.
anybody says. Metallica writes some of the best fucking ballads there ever
They
were.
do, for sure. But a lot of our dad's generation didn't think so. And they wanted thrash metal. And
I
they
don't
didn't
know.
get it.
Fucking Fade to Black and Sanitarium.
No. I'm talking about like just the straight up switch from thrash to what they were doing in the 90s. There was a lot of that generation that were like, nope, that's not Ride the Lightning. That's not Master of Puppets.
They all
that's...
like Nothing Else Matters.
I guarantee you they do. They might not tell you that, but they do.
They liked it. Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting topic. You see so many people arguing about, oh, well, they're a sellout or they're not a sellout. And, well, what really is a sellout? So I wanted to dive into that. Preston, you had a hot take that you threw in here that I think's pretty interesting, and I don't
got
know
a couple.
I don't know how hot it is because it's right.
I think it's one
right.
that I don't think people may have realized yet.
So go ahead.
So we've mentioned briefly on this episode the band Bleed From Within.
Yeah.
Me and Tyler absolutely loves them as well. It feels like they have this certain, it's not a kill switch vibe or anything, but like they stay in this thrash vibe, but more modern thrash metalcore vibe. And
I used to call it thrashcore.
yeah, kind of thrashcore. Yeah.
Stop
they
with
just,
the damn
to us, they feel
subgenres.
different. And I don't know how to describe them, but they feel different than an era, like Moths to Flames, whoever else you want to mention. But a recent realization that I came to, and maybe some of y'all, the listeners, will think I'm fucking nuts and like, what is he talking about? Bleed From Within is the new Parkway Drive.
I absolutely agree. We were talking about it before the show. You can even like listen to just certain facets of their song and go, boy, that sounds like old Parkway Drive.
Yep.
Like the flow of the song, the
raspy scream.
Yeah, just it reminds you of Winston. Because Parkway fell off a fucking cliff.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like Bleed From Within picked right because Parkway was different than a lot of
for some reason they
metalcore
always
bands
felt
and that.
different.
Yeah, they were different
Yeah.
from
All
August
right,
Burns.
I'm a times out here. I've never really listened to Parkway Drive.
You're missing out.
And
Oh,
here's
shit,
why.
man.
The first songs I ever heard from them were probably When They Fell Off.
Ew.
And
On the
I heard
Vengeance
them and I was
album?
like, this is fucking garbage.
Yeah, you probably heard the new shit.
And I
We need to
forget who it
introduce
was
him
that
to Carry On.
showed me, but you guys are going to have to send me the stuff you like.
You
from
we got
never
you.
heard the
stuff
song
Wild Eyes,
fucking
Dark
Carry
Days.
On?
I got you.
I
bro.
never got into them because my first taste of it was like, nah,
Oh
fuck
my
that.
If you listen to
God.
anything from 2017 on, don't do it.
Yep.
It's bad.
Yep.
From Ire, their album Ire came out in 2016. White album has red lettering, says Ire on it. That was their last good album. Everything after that sucks. Everything before that's great.
Parkway was in my top 5 at one
Oh,
point. We were
same.
obsessed
with Parkway. 'Cause they were so fucking heavy and just
Yep.
wrote some of the coolest riffs ever.
Yep.
It was fucking awesome.
Yep.
But after the Reverence album and then the newest
Was it
one,
Reverence or Reverence?
Reverence.
I want
and
to
then-
say it was around 2016, 2017
No
when
wonder.
I was introduced to them.
No wonder.
But I don't remember what songs were sent to me. I just know that
Well,
they were dog shit.
we'll send you some old shit. So
Yep. We didn't fulfill our duties there if we haven't got you into Old Parkway.
Yeah.
That's a
we've
bad
let
job out of us.
We've let you down.
Well, there's
Bad
there's a
job
lot of
out of
bands
us.
like
words
you,
of Bo
you
Bishop.
mentioned,
Bad job out of you.
like Memphis Mayfire. Like I'd never heard of them until I
Bro,
started
their
hanging
old
out with you
shit's heavy
guys.
as fuck,
Go
and
listen
it
to
is
Challenger.
gnarly.
I listened to them.
Yeah.
I love it, but
What's the one with?
there's so many bands that I had never heard of until the last few years,
You're
and
welcome.
so I'm doing this huge backtrack
Yeah.
going all the way to like
Yeah, because you were soft before you
2000
met
Pretty
us.
damn soft.
metalcore and shit. And it's like, I don't know why I never really got into this, but for whatever reason, I didn't. And it's not that I didn't listen to metal. I didn't listen to metal on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just
There
wasn't
was-
what you were into at the
Look,
time.
there was some like deathcore shit that Tony would send me, and I would like it was on my MySpace, bro.
Yeah.
What is it?
Dahlia
Yeah.
Murder.
Black Dahlia murder. Yeah.
Yeah, like stuff like that. I
Yep.
was listening to, but not on the regular basis.
Yeah.
So like I'd listen to heavy stuff. It just wasn't what I wanted to listen to all the time. But since I've been hanging out with you guys send me stuff, and I
We
kind of
force-fed you
rely.
metalcore.
I kind of rely on your direction.
We
And
are
then
your-
I let the similar artists thing on Apple Music kind of take me down journeys. That's
Isn't that
how
a great
I found
feature?
Micah Relocate.
Micah Relocate.
Oh my Lord,
Man,
Jesus.
if you guys have never heard of a band called Micah Relocate, unfortunately they're not together anymore. They dropped 2 absolute
They're
bangers.
fucking
of an album.
assholes.
Dropped 2 absolute banger albums and then
Just
just
like fucking
disappeared into
Commonwealth.
oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
Drops one.
Commonwealth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
drops one album.
So-
Amazing and
You talked about deathcore, and I don't think you were out here before when Preston and I were talking about this. But this isn't a hot take or anything, but this is just a cool thought, and I want to see if you agree. You'll probably know where I'm going with this. So when you think about, you were talking about how Bleed From Within is kind of the new Parkway and things like that. So
because they feel like they're kind of just out here.
yeah, so you think about genres, right? You've got like straight up metalcore, melodic metalcore. You have deathcore. 2 ends of the spectrum, right? So you've got bands like Lorna Shore, Slaughter to Prevail, Diarda's Murder,
Yep.
Black Dahlia, all, in this genre over here. And then you've got bands like Polaris and Era that are like straight metalcore.
Mm-hmm.
But what's in the middle? In the middle, you have bands like Currents, like Make Them Suffer, like Moths to Flames,
And
like
Van
Moths to
Animate,
Flames,
sorta.
and Animate. That
Silent
combines
Planet, sorta.
Silent Planet's another one you could throw in there.
Yep.
Silent Planet's probably more new metal.
Yeah.
So you've got these bands like I just named, Currents and Make Them Suffer, all that are somewhere in between metalcore and deathcore because they combine elements of both and do it beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go, I like that smile. Go listen to Divisionary by Era, and then go listen to Remember Me by
Yep.
Currents, and be like, well, they call both of these bands metalcore, but I'm hearing some deathcore shit in this Currents song.
Think of some of the bands that I've really picked out as kind of my favorites within what you guys have sent me, and most of it's going to fall more in that
In the middle. Yes.
Yeah.
middle ground.
And I would put Bleed From Within in that middle ground too.
God, that album.
So you love Bleed, you love
It's a modern
Moths, and you
metalcore
love
masterpiece.
Currents. So maybe
I
you're
seen
just
Currents. I seen Currents live, and
because the thing about deathcore is I think they draw a lot of influence from hardcore and vice versa.
mm-hmm.
Believe it or not. So I think that's probably why you might be
very
a
similar.
you might be a
really.
sleeping deathcore fan. You need to listen to some Lorna Shore, my guy.
Full send, bro. There's a few bands I think I've sent you that were more along that deathcore.
Both of you guys have been sending Dying
Mhm.
Wish. You both have been sending some more deathcore shit.
like
in
there's
the
a
chat.
band called End, END, that
don't know if you
is
sent that.
it sounds more like hardcore, just like sonically, but like the style is probably closer to that deathcore shit.
Mm-hmm.
I've
And
been
I like them a lot.
I've been getting way into deathcore lately. That's just kind of been my vibe here lately. But it's just cool to think like when you really start to dissect bands and their style, you can almost find the connections and the subtle differences of. And I'm not trying to create new genres or anything, but we dissect music on such a high level that it's interesting to
Yeah, it's like, where are we going to fit these guys in?
where
at?
do you what makes this band different from this band and that band, and it's
Especially
cool to,
when we talk about how all these, there's a certain group of bands that like kind of bored of.
yeah.
It's like,
Would
I've
you
heard
say
that before.
What'd you say before
heard
the
that.
show? You're like, I'm just kind of, I'm dry. I'm burnt
Yeah,
out on.
I'm bored with
metalcore right now.
music right
Yeah.
now. Yep. And maybe it's due to my own fault of not being able to search more stuff.
This band right here, you gotta
Do the thing. Do that
do
thing.
the thing
where
where
you send it.
Yeah.
Like I did with that Nomad song, which is like deathcore meets hardcore meets
Mhm.
thrash metal. I've shouted out that band before, but go listen to Nomad TN. Those dudes fucking rip. So yeah, that was a cool thing. Preston, you did have one more hot take in here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you remember it, or do you want me?
In there?
Yeah, it was jazz guitar is harder to play.
Okay, I
than
added
metal.
that, so I didn't. Yeah, so you get on Instagram and it does that, like the part of Instagram where it knows what you like to see.
Yeah,
To where,
because Instagram's always listening.
yeah, so of course it's all related to guitar playing, music, and golf and working out and shit.
RNG.
And every now and then, like jazz guitar will pop up rather than a metal guitarist. And I watch these dudes playing this jazz fast pick style and these weird chords, and the timing of it is so weird to me. And I kind of took a step back and I'm like, is playing jazz guitar harder than playing metal?
Yeah.
music?
Well, when we talk about hand positions, right, we're like, that's like a fucking jazz chord.
Yeah, and
It's I mean, they're
fucked.
fucking contortionists
It's
with their hands, bro.
fucked.
It's fucked.
So
Tyler could probably speak on this way better than I could.
yeah, so I mean, look, jazz is very, very rooted in music theory. And it's not a style of music that you can really go into without having some knowledge of music theory. And these
wonder
quote
I can't
unquote
fucking
jazz
play it.
chords is really it's just chords, first, third, and fifth position of a scale or whatever to create a chord, major, minor, add the seventh, diminished, augmented, all this fun shit that you learn in music theory that you can do with chords. They're just doing that, but they're not using the standard hand positions for like G or D or A or whatever. They're using the whole fucking fretboard.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to play a fucking A, but I don't want to play it up here like a little bitch. I want to play it over here. And what that requires is me to do this like weird thing
Yes.
with my hand. And it's cool though, because it sounds great, but and I'm amazing, so I can actually play it. And
And then
they're
you switch
just-
to another chord that's
they're
just as
almost-
fucked.
yeah, but it's not even the same shape, and
No.
that's where it gets really hard. And honestly, as much as we talk up, me and Dad, as much as we talk up Tony, Tony Tipton, he's a shredder, dude. He can do amazing things on the guitar. But he told me when I was like 14, he looked at me and he said, "Learn how to play chords fast, because that's one thing I'm not good at."
Yep.
And I was like, ooh. And honestly, that statement right there drove me down the path that I went on the guitar, because for me playing and what I fuck around with, I do a lot of chords, a lot of weird hand positions.
You do, bro. Watching you play guitar gives me a fucking aneurysm.
That's what the type of stuff I do, because it's not easy to do, but it's kind of slept on.
Yeah.
People want the flashy whittly diddlies, and they want the noodling and stuff like that. But like, I always gravitated towards rhythm guitar because, dude, I can do shit rhythmically that'll fucking blow you away, and maybe it doesn't land for everybody, but anyone that tries to mimic what I'm playing, they're going to be sitting down, they're going to be like trying to learn it by ear and be like,
Show me that chord.
you mind doing the thing where you like send it over?
Can you give me the sheet music to that?
Show me the tabs if you could.
I can't
And then
read
you're going to
music,
see the
yeah.
tabs, and it's going to be like, you did what?
You're going, my hand doesn't bend like that.
And then you're going there? What? That doesn't even make sense. And that's the kind of stuff I'm into. Jazz musicians do a lot of that. And they play really fast. And the timing stuff,
Yeah.
look, the timing stuff doesn't, like, it's kind of perceived as complicated for people who don't really study rhythm. I had an advantage because I did like fucking concert band and shit, percussion, and so I had to understand all these rhythms and stuff. But for people who didn't have that, they look at this and they're like, that's kind of goofy, or that's kind of weird, or how do you make sure you're on time with that? And it's like, dude, I just use a fucking metronome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, use a metronome, understand eighth notes, quarter notes, half notes, sixteenths, whatever. And you just fucking play it.
Yeah.
But that type of shit is really fucking hard for a lot of musicians.
Yeah.
And so I would say jazz guitar is
think-
much harder to play than
I'd like-
metal, but I would say one of the first things my dad told me when I was young, he said, if you want, to learn the feel of music, learn the blues.
Mm-hmm.
To learn the speed, learn bluegrass and jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say there's probably a lot of other people out there that maybe got that kind of advice or maybe seen it. And so they probably look into some of this jazz stuff and pull influence from it, because there's stuff that metal, some of these metal guitarists that you guys send me that are doing pretty similar shit, just maybe not to the extent and to the weird level that jazz.
Well, we
guitars
mentioned Periphery on this show often, and in like interludes or the beginning or ends or sometimes in the middle of their song, there are jazz pieces, and not to say that jazz is off time. Maybe I'm perceiving it slightly different, or maybe I definitely am. Like they definitely have jazz influences in their music, and there's a reason they put that style in their music, and it's foreign to me, man.
Yeah.
Completely foreign to me.
Tyler, do you have a hot take, or you want to let this one marinate?
I don't have much of a hot take, but I have something I'd be interested in closing out the season with.
Okay, buddy. Send us home.
We are on episode 12.
Mm-hmm.
That's about 22 to 24 hours of content.
Yes.
So far. Whether it's for the entire show or just this season, what was your favorite, I guess, moment, discussion,
Mm.
Oh,
whatever?
Boy, I'll tell you, for me, man, tonight's been fun.
Mhm.
I've said it before. I love having guests on. I love getting the different perspectives, the different stories, different insights and journeys, things like that. But I always love when we're able to get just the three of us back in the studio and just do what we do, man, and just talk music and we come up with a show sheet and try to stick to it and try to cover all the topics and all that, but we always end up going off on tangents and talking about something completely different and whatnot. And I think that's what's most fun for me, is just how fluid all of this is. And we've said it from the very beginning, that's why we started doing this, is because these are conversations that we have just amongst ourselves. And now we're just putting it out for other people to hear and to
Mm-hmm.
take part in. But God, your dad with the WKPUSSY, the fuzzy spot on your radio. That was pretty fucking great. Was the BDSM shit this season too? It was, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? No, that might have been
Are you
last
sure?
season. I don't know. It blends together.
Yeah, it does. We've been grinding so hard to get this put
He
together
said,
for the
I
listeners.
thought BDSM stood for
Big dick, small mouth. I think
Was
that
it
was
Corn
last season.
BDSM?
promo code.
Promo code BDSM. There's been, should have been dead. And there's been so many moments
Yeah.
that just stick in my mind of, God damn, this is fun and this is why we're doing it. It's hard for me to just narrow down one. I've had a blast doing it. I can't wait to continue doing it and get to work on season 3. It's a release for me. And I enjoy I even enjoy the after hours work of doing the video editing and putting content out because of the people that reach out and say, man, I can't wait for the next episode. I can't wait for the next, piece of content you guys are going to put out. So that's what makes it rewarding. But even if I didn't get that, I still have a blast just sitting here with you guys talking about the shit we love.
Yep.
Preston.
So many moments. Hard for me to pinpoint one, but if I were to pinpoint one, it was the way Derek was able to describe what metal music did for him as a kid. The way he was able to put that into words, and the way I was able, and probably you guys as well, able to relate to that.
As soon as he said soundtrack for your success
Yeah.
or whatever, I was
Soundtrack
like,
to your life.
yes.
Yep. And it was cool to hear a best friend growing up, like, it's what we did. Like, we listened to metal music, we played football, we lifted weights, and it was like, maybe we didn't realize it at the time, but however many years later, to hear him explain why we liked the music that we did in a way that we probably couldn't put into words.
It was so revealing
ourselves.
for us.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, no wonder. And it explains a lot of our stories, but just the way he was able to put it into words and explain it, I hope the listeners felt the same way in the way he was able to explain it. I would say that's probably my favorite moment.
Another piece for me, Tyler, I don't want to, take away from you giving
No, you're
yours,
good.
but
We got time.
yeah, absolutely. We're not on a time crunch here. The episode, and I believe it was the episode we had Sean on, where you and I especially got really vulnerable and got really emotional and were able to vent some demons out there. And bro, I couldn't do that in any other space. Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable enough to do that in any other space.
Mm-hmm.
And to be on the verge of, and actually having tears in my eyes talking about something, that I went through in my life and how this music got me through that, man, that's cool as shit. To be able to, because we talk about it all the time, us as men have a terribly hard time, or a lot of us do anyways, expressing those emotions, coming to grips with certain things, and being able to talk about it openly and kind of vent it out. And this platform has given us the opportunity to do that. And I'm very grateful for that because, man, that makes you feel better when you're able to, like, put it out there in space and say, yep, it happened. I made it through it. I'm a better person for it. And I'm where I am today because of it. So that's another piece to get a little more, deep and emotional. The funny stuff is unforgettable, but that right there is something that'll stick with me because, I've talked about it, and I talked to some friends that listen to the show. I'm like, man, when you guys hear this episode, you're going to hear me get choked up. And I'm still kind of I told you guys the next day, I'm like, I'm struggling with how vulnerable I got.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like post-nut clarity, right? You're like,
Oh, wait a second.
you need some PNC. I'm like, damn, did I really like get choked up and like, oh, that's so embarrassing. And, but no, it's not. It's not at all. But it's just, as a man, that's the way you think. Like, you
Right.
fucking pussy, suck it up. But this space gives us an opportunity for that to be okay and that to be allowed to flow out and be talked about.
Right.
And, so that is another piece for me that has just been huge.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of what I would say is these deeper conversations we've had, some of the earlier hot takes that I was able to deliver, making us really think and go down like rabbit holes and
Heavy as a feeling.
Heavy as a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the episode with Derek, we all got pretty deep on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Got talking about, all these struggles that I have with, being a fucking dad and trying to make it through this shit, and how metal has helped me with, being that soundtrack for that struggle.
Yeah,
you know what I
man.
mean? And what I don't want is for this to necessarily be like a therapy session for us, but I do enjoy those conversations because when we have those conversations, it forces me to try to put those thoughts into words.
Yeah.
And I sit here and I mix the audio. I have to listen to myself talk and how I will be mid-thought trying to speak and my words will be all drawn out and there'll be long pauses in between what I'm saying. And I'm like, dude, you sound fucking dumb. But what it
Very
is like
self-critical.
is like I'm forcing myself to try to put into words these things that, I mean, a lot of the conversations we have, we've had these conversations in our group chat. We've had these conversations out at dinner or just hanging out. But some of these conversations we really haven't had.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had to put those feelings or thoughts into words. And for me, this has kind of been that space, that opportunity to get better at that, because I think that is quite important, being able to vocalize those thoughts and those feelings that you deal with. And, you know, I mentioned a couple of times on the show just where metal and this music that we talk about really helps express the feelings and emotions that we deal with that we have a hard time expressing ourselves.
It's a vessel.
And this show is proven to be an opportunity to kind of get better at expressing those things in words. And for me, some of my favorite, you know, points in this show were kind of like that conversation you and I had, episode 1 of this season, where, you know, we got real emotional. We talked about some serious shit that we've dealt with and how music pulled us out of those moments. And I think so many people listening and so many people that will eventually listen to this show will relate to what we talked about. They will relate to the struggles we have discussed and our guests have discussed. And that's why I think it's cool having guests on, because almost everyone, not that they have the same story, but there's similarities in the stories. And it's like, you know, even having my dad on, you know, it was kind of similar with his musical journey, getting into metal and hard rock and stuff that he was doing. He didn't really discuss some of the deeper level things that went on in the background, but he really did have very similar story to what a lot of us had. And I think that relatability is what got some of our earlier fans of the show interested, because it would be these moments of, you know, we're laughing, we're joking, and then we're getting real serious and we're talking about something that's not easy to talk about.
Yeah, man.
And these people are probably, you know, while I'm listening to it, mixing the audio, I'm like, fuck, man, it is so hard to talk about that. And you have to have a certain kind of friend around you to be able to talk about that stuff. And dude, it's fucking sad, but some people just don't have the fucking friends out there that will listen to that shit.
Yep.
And it's terrible, man. Like, not to get too into society and shit today, but like, especially for men, like it's hard to find friends as a dude that can have those conversations with you, and maybe at least listening to it and seeing that we're just like you guys. You know, it's hard for us to talk about this shit. Fucking talk about it.
Yeah.
You're going to feel a lot better. And especially if you're dealing with the type of shit Kyler and I have dealt with, that we talked about in episode 1, fucking talk about it.
Yeah, dude.
Talk to somebody. And I don't say that like the typical cliche of, oh, go seek
therapy
help
or,
and, you know, whatever. Look, if you're dealing with some shit, no matter who you are, it fucking helps to talk about it. And I've always had a hard time talking about it, even though I've had the friends to be able to do it, just because I couldn't fucking put it into words.
Sure.
So I think those are some of my favorite moments so far with the show, is when we can get into those deeper conversations and kind of get vulnerable for a minute and allow ourselves the opportunity to really try to express some of the shit that we deal with.
We talk about it all the time. It's the Metal Brotherhood, and that's what this is all about. You know, we all listen to this music for a reason, and you guys listen to this show for a reason, and we're doing this show for a reason. And I don't think that I could have ever put it in any better words than what Tyler just did, and I hope you guys and gals that are listening all agree. You know, you guys are a part of this family with us. We're doing this just as much for you guys as we are for us, and we hope you enjoy it. You know, we try to balance the lightheartedness with the serious shit, because that's what this music is all about. It all goes back to the music. So we are eternally grateful for every one of you that listens on a weekly basis, or if you're a Patreon subscriber, you know, binging the content, however you might be listening. We're so thankful for you guys. We hope you enjoy it. And there's obviously going to be a lot more to come. We hope you've enjoyed season 2. It's been a blast putting it together. Thank you again to our guests, Sean, Scotty, Big Ed, Charlie, Special Ed, whatever you want to call him. Thank you guys for coming on. Got some exciting guests coming on season 3. Can't wait. It's going to be an awesome summer. Got some Screaming Evidence shows coming up that we're going to be talking about. So looking forward to that. Bonus content, by the time you're listening to this, the bonus content will already be out, and I hope you've enjoyed that. If you're a Patreon subscriber, if you're not, hop on that Patreon, give us a shot on there at our Backstage Pass. Again, just $5 a month. We don't want to be gouging on price or anything. We just want to put good content out there that's instantly accessible to you guys, and also have you be able to interact with us one-on-one. Make sure you keep up with us on all of our social media channels: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all at TSIS Podcast. That way you can keep up on any and all updates on Season 3, merch, all of the above. So give us a follow on all those if you don't already. Thank you to everyone that does already follow us. It's been a blast. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks for Season 3. And until next time, we are the Screaming Idiots.
Peace, love, dove.